Good evening. Okay, there it is. I had planned to do a short presentation on our strategic plan, and it just got shorter because I have a PowerPoint, but it's not here. So there are a couple of handouts on your table, and I'll talk about this. And I really did intend for this to be short because we've got the election process, and we for those of you who might be here for the first time, we try to keep this to about an hour, and we try to have an open dialogue too. So I'll take 10 minutes or so, and then take a little bit of time to open it up for questions and answers, and then the election. Is that the right order? Are we doing that after the election? Q&A after the election. Okay, we'll do that. So you've got a brochure about our strategic plan. Our board adopted this strategic plan. This is a very high level, very broad description of what we're doing, but I think it can capture a little bit of the essence. And I'll use the educational jargon for that, or the educational language for that. It's differentiating instruction for every child. And it is developing an instructional plan that meets their academic needs, academic challenges, challenging curriculum, that meets the social and emotional needs of children. That's a new piece, and that we've emphasized, and it's really important that we meet the social and emotional and academic needs of all of our students, and that we listen to the wants and needs of our parents, that we listen to student voice, that we listen to parent voice, and that we listen to teacher voice and incorporate that in our strategic plan. This brochure is really doesn't do justice to the depth of the strategic plan. We worked on the details of the strategic plan in this district for the better part of the year, starting with the restructuring of the central office from the top, and really looking at developing an organizational structure that would address what we wanted to do in the district, and then developing plans that lead all the way into each individual school improvement plan, 150 schools, and that we build from that bottom up. And we actually started building from school improvement plans into the full strategic plan for the district back in the fall. There is a process that every school goes through to develop a strategic plan, using the data that they have on their school, using the strengths and weaknesses, and really analyzing what they need to do, and having those 150 school improvement plans really comply with the approach that we're taking in our strategic plan. I want to refer to this piece and talk about the strategies that are important and that are very comprehensive strategies, but there are really three. You can boil it down to three things that we think can help us become much better, that cause us to become much better as schools and as a school district. And that first strategy is quality teaching, and it's to develop, to recruit, retain, develop, and support quality teachers in every classroom, highest quality teachers that we can get. Now that's our human capital work, that's our professional development, that's everything that we do. And I think from your perspectives as parents, you know what's most important. And what is most important is that your child has a great teacher. And that and I will grow that to the district. We have 6,000 of those teachers, and we want every one of them to be the best teacher that we can provide. And so that means that goes back to recruitment. It deals with all aspects of recruitment, and then typically what's been an area of weakness in school systems is when you hire teachers, how do you support? What kind of support system do you provide for? You teachers do a lot of it. It's a mentoring program. It's a professional development program. It's many other aspects of building the professional capacity of the teachers that we have in our district, and then being able to keep them. Number of strategies related to keeping the very best teachers that we can get, and retaining them. The second strategy or second set of strategies is equity and excellence. And that deals with a variety of issues, from funding. We need to look at resources. We need to look at the resources that are necessary to help every child be successful, to personalize instruction. We need to look at the resources by school. All schools are not alike. Some schools have different needs from other schools. It might be gifted education. You know, one of the things that we might need to do is look at some schools and look at the level, at the number of students who really need a gifted education program, or an English learner program, or a program for children with special needs. And most schools have a combination of those things, but our goal in equity and excellence in resources, and by the way, every school, regardless of zip code, needs great teachers. We don't need differences in quality of teachers from one school to another. And so that whole issue of equity and excellence is important. It's a diversity plan. We have a diversity plan in the district where we monitor what we look like in our district, the diversity that we have. You know that we're one of the most diverse school systems in the country. Children speak 135 languages. There is no majority race. We come from all over the world. And we need to embrace that and recognize it as an asset or a resource, not a problem. But we also need to understand the differences in serving those children. Dottie Critchlow is back in the back. Dottie, among the other programs that she runs, is the English Learner Program. And we're taking a really hard look at how we provide service to our English learners in our district. Most of them are young, by the way. By the time they get older, they've graduated out of the EL programs, and they don't have to have special educational programs for that. But we have a lot of immigrant population that comes into our district at a very young age. So what are we doing with our early childhood children whose parents don't speak English and they don't speak English? And we know we have improvements to make in that area. So equity and excellence is that second set of strategies. And then the third set of strategies deals with transformational leadership, and that's building the capacity of our leaders in our district and where they are. Decentralizing instructional leadership is important. If you have a brilliant math coordinator that's in the central office, it's pretty hard for that math coordinator to reach 2,500 teachers in 150 different schools that teach mathematics. That's not of very much value. So our approach has been to build instructional leadership teams in schools, and to really change the way we look at instruction, and to also build instructional leadership skills of classroom teachers. I met last night with a group. We have cohort 4 now of a group that we call Teacher Leadership Institute. We identify 30 very high-performing third-year teachers. We're very intentional about that. We're in our 4th cohort now, about 120 teachers in our district, top performers. And we give them a leadership development opportunity. We're already seeing those people, and they're great young teachers. We already see those people being promoted into roles of leadership in the district, but more important than just being promoted is that they're becoming leaders of other teachers in their schools, and we want to develop that, and we want that to be pervasive in the school system as we go forward. So this is our theory of system change, and you've seen our brochure. I will emphasize. I had a question earlier, so and I gave an answer, and I want to tell you we have. You see the characteristics that we would like to see in our young people at the elementary level, the middle school level, and the high school level. And I want to tell you one that's of special interest to me. When I was in the classroom, when I was a school administrator, I was an 8th grade language arts teacher, and then I was a middle school administrator and an elementary administrator. But adolescents are special, you know. Early adolescents, 12, 13 years old, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, they're unique. And we've got to pay attention to developmental issues and the social and emotional development of early adolescence is something that we don't do a good enough job of. And so we're really focused on what we're doing in our middle schools now. And they're changing very quickly. But one of the characteristics here is one that's that I'll claim ownership. It's mine. I want every student in middle school, in this school system, to be actively engaged in some co-curricular activity. Co-curricular is maybe the best word, I don't know. Co-curricular activity that's a passion to them. Not necessarily academic. It could even be academic. I think when we do this, when we implement this strategic plan, we have a very good opportunity of becoming the best urban school system in this country. And that's where our goal is by 2018. So please, our strategic plan's online. You can go to the website and you can dig very deeply into the strategies that we have and what we have to offer and what we're building in our school system. So I would encourage you to do that. I'll mention, how am I doing on time? Is it time to quit? I want to do one other thing. I want to talk about our budget priorities, and we've got 4 that I want to mention. Budget's an issue for us right now. Early childhood education. We can't wait any longer on creating quality 4-year-old programs for every child and every family who wants it and needs it. I'll give you some numbers. We have about 8,600 students in kindergarten as 5-year-olds. We serve about 2,500 4-year-olds in pre-K, in pre-K programs. There's a big gap there. There are a lot of children who don't have access to quality pre-K who need it in our school district. And we're not expanding pre-K in the state. There is a national move to do that, but we can get a start on that in our district by increasing PreK Services. And we're proposing, and not only the number, not only the quantity, but also the quality of programs. Right now, we have pre-K centers, 4-year-old centers in 57 schools, and there are 1,400 students served by Head Start in centers. What we're proposing to do is to start 3 pre-K model centers, one in a conversion of Ross Elementary to a pre-K center, one a conversion of Bordeaux Elementary, and the third is close to here, Casa Azafran, which is Conexion Americas organization over on Nolensville Road, to start a 3rd center to reach more children, full-day program. And we're going to really build model schools out of these programs. We've got an adequate budget that we've proposed in our budget to build the best practice, to build the model sites. We're going to recruit high quality people to come in and to let these be models for learning and for improving practice across our district for all 57, and to continue to grow our capacity in our district. Instructional technology is another one. That's a second priority in our budget. That's putting a lot of technology into schools. The technology that we've chosen is mobile carts and laptops that can be rolled into classrooms so that teachers don't have to line their kids up and take them down the hall to use a computer. And we've ordered sufficient numbers to really provide a good level of service in all of our schools, grades K through 12, and a good training program for teachers. And technology should be for teachers a tool for them to use to differentiate instruction. And that's the bottom line. That's what it's all about. And we're investing quite a bit in purchase of mobile labs that are being disseminated to all schools now, and a training program so that every teacher in our school system meets a competence level by August 1st and is given a laptop to use themselves in creating differentiated instruction in classrooms. I've said a couple of times in the last day or two, I visited several schools this week, and I am already seeing a difference there. I'm seeing use of technology at a much higher level than what we've done before in our district. Strategic compensation. Shelley Baldwin worked on a planning committee to look at strategic compensation. We're putting a whole and a committee from the district, parents, teachers, administrators. We're making a recommendation on strategic compensation to pay teachers more for extra work, for extra duties, for asking them to do more. And we're also recommending an across-the-board pay raise this year for our teachers. If we're going to have the best teachers here, we've got to pay the best salaries. And we've made some changes in that regard, and we're going to make more, not tied to test scores. We put a hold on that. We don't trust that well enough to do that yet. But certainly tied to additional responsibilities for teachers. About $9 million in our budget. And then I've already mentioned pre-K. The last thing I'll mention that's a big part of our budget is a K-12 literacy plan, a comprehensive plan that engages every instructional person in our district in a literacy program. That's not just English teachers at the middle school level. It's all teachers. And we've spent quite a bit of time developing this program. We're recommending additional staff to help in critical needs areas, and we're doing a lot in training in that area. So our budget's important. We're encourage you to help us develop our support for our budget as we go forward. Our meeting with the mayor is next week, next Thursday, I believe. Metro Council has to approve our budget next Wednesday, and Metro Council has to approve our budget by June. The mayor presents, I think, around May 1st to the Metro Council. So with that, I'm going to stop, and we'll come back to questions as we get on. I'm going to turn it over to Meredith now to conduct an election. Is that correct?
And so just to make sure you know, we did put those budget hearing dates on the bottom of the agenda, so you are encouraged to show your support for the school budget. And also, the school starts August 6th, so thinking ahead. So we are going to now hear from our PAC candidates. We are starting with the candidates for chair. We'll take the candidates in alphabetical order. There is one change. Excuse me. Our candidate for secretary has realized that this would probably be a little more than she could take on right now, so we do not have a candidate for secretary. By PAC rules, under those circumstances, we can accept nominations from the floor. You can self-nominate if someone wants to, and I saw a hint up in the back.
I nominate Rob Jack.
Rob Jack. And it would be great if we heard from Mr. Jack if he were willing to serve. That's very kind, but we want to make sure you would be willing to do that. Okay, you would be willing to do that? And I saw another hand. Okay, and Mr. Jack, if you would like to have 3 minutes or introduce yourself, are there other nominations? Because if not, we can elect Mr. Jack by voice vote. All in favor of Rob Jack for secretary, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? And the ayes have it. Congratulations, Mr. Jack. Now I guess we will revert to the order, and we will start with candidates for chair. Shelley Baldwin, if you'll give me a moment, I have the official bell from if you've ever spoken to the school board. I don't like to hit the bell, but we cut you off when you hit 3 minutes. So give me a moment to start the timer. And then you can start speaking.
Yeah.
I have so rung that bell multiple times in the morning. Like, get her off, get the hook. My name is Shelley Baldwin. For those of you who do not know me, if you're new here tonight, thank you for coming. I appreciate the turnout. There are cookies in the back. Please eat them because I don't like to take them home. I was chair for this past year. It's been wonderful. And my main goals coming in were just basic: improve communication, support the desires of the people, kind of keep an ear to the ground and find out what people were wanting. And as a result, our first meeting was a smash, knockout hit with Watchdog program. For those of you who are not familiar with it, it's a company out of Arkansas, other A state, that male engagement in the schools. Get your men in there, get them in, volunteering. And Sylvan Park, we had 40 some odd schools turn out for our training program. And Sylvan Park, my school, launched a program. We had 300 dads and kids show up, and we had so many show up that we had to add 2 dads a day. So we are rolling that program in our school. It's been great. We've had 6 schools roll it out so far. More schools will probably roll it out in the fall because it was kind of a lot to take on in a short amount of time in the spring semester. The other thing I set up was a Facebook page. For those of you that are on Facebook, I post updates on there, and a Twitter page. And I'll be the first to admit, I don't think I'm cool enough to tweet. I just don't keep up with it. So the Facebook page is a much more reliable source of information for me. And above and beyond that, we set up a little group to talk to Dr. Register prior to meetings because parents were expressing that they wanted a little bit more personal interaction. So the last 3 meetings, we've had some invitation-only meetings for PAC reps to come in and speak with Dr. Register for an hour prior to, and that's worked out really well, I think. And going forward, I just want to keep improving the PAC. I am a firm believer in public schools. I want them to be the best they can be for everybody, for every student, every parent. I want everybody to have a good experience. So if I can help facilitate that by being the chair of this group, I am 100% in. And I would like that opportunity for 1 more year. Just keep rolling with what I've been doing. I see her reaching for that bell. And that's it. So thank you.
Okay, we'll hear from our next candidate, Erica.
Because I am very wordsy, I decided to try to keep it respectfully to 3 minutes. So, when I was contacted and informed I had been nominated for PAC chair again, I was humbly honored. And I gave careful thought to whether adding that hat back to my head would be beneficial for our district. I ask myself, are all our students provided equity of resources? Are all our parents and their views embraced with the same attention? Have we moved past the squeaky wheel concept? Is the culture completely gone that all children cannot learn? No. And we are just as much at fault as the district that we blame. Administration, parents, students, and the community all serve a valuable and viable component to our students being success stories instead of statistics. 82,863. The current number of students enrolled in metro schools. This must be the number we target for true success of our school district. Our scores are improving, and so must our efforts to embrace all our students and their families. I applaud the efforts of our current chair. However, for those of you who have an intimate knowledge of the district, you know that with over 22,000 English learners and over 55,000 economically disadvantaged students, Facebook and Twitter are not viable options to reach their caregivers. This also speaks to why Watchdog has embraced 6 of our existing 154 schools. While these are notable efforts, we must strive to reach our majorities as well as our minorities in the district. We have to embrace all our families and keep the dialogue open for them to collectively embrace what works and implement it throughout the district. We have to meet our families where they are and communicate to them, you are valuable. We cannot be a success without you. I stand before you tonight when I'm supposed to be 3 other places at the same time, because some of you have expressed that it would be a benefit to our district for me to serve another year to prepare the next leader and strengthen all our clusters and the collective voice of our district. 82,863 students and their families is why I stand before you. The picture has to be broader than just my kid in my school. My future doctor, attorney, financial planner, chef at my favorite restaurant, all deserve every support available, as do their parents, for proper advocacy and partnering of the district. 82,863. Thank you.
Thank you, and Mr. Yarborough, our candidate for vice chair.
Thank you. You know, Albert Einstein said that education is what you get after you've forgotten all the stuff you learned in school. I have always been a big supporter of public education. Someone threw me a loop last week. We're talking about public versus private and the charter schools. And they looked at me and said, what's the purpose of public education? When you really think about it, you'll kind of rack your mind a little when you start trying to think of all the purposes. They wanted one answer, one purpose. Personally, I have 2 older daughters plus, what was that term? A unique adolescent who attends MEX. And for me, it's financial independence. When you have 2 girls, one who just finished college and one who's still in, trust me, financial independence is important in your education. 2 of the things that Dr. Register mentioned were quality teachers in the strategic plan. When we talk about quality teachers, the Gallup organization last week had a poll. I feel like I'm going in and out here, but they had a poll that they released that said only 27% of school students in this nation considered that they had at least one teacher that they considered made them feel hopeful to be successful. So I think that's an interesting statistic, particularly when we're looking at that in the strategic plan. The other thing that was mentioned was parental and community partnerships. as Dr. Register will confirm, I have been a huge proponent of parental involvement. I think that this group can be a very vital source for parent and community participation in our school system. Communication with those parents, getting them to the schools. We're very fortunate, I think, at MEGS because we have good participation, but a lot of schools that I have attended, the parental participation is not what I think it should be, and I think this group would go a long way toward helping to improve that. Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Jack, would you like to make a comment or two?
Thank you very much. I can just broadcast. Thank you very much. I've enjoyed my year on the PAC this year and look forward to serving in a future capacity. So I'm with Glendale Elementary. I have a first and a fourth grader at Glendale Elementary, and in another year we'll have a kindergartner. So I will be in Metro Schools for quite a while. Thank you.
Well, having heard from all our candidates, I think we are ready for to open the polls, if you will. Everybody who is eligible to vote should have received a red ticket when they came in. You can see our polling booths here. You will need your red ticket. You can cast your vote. One small item is that not knowing if we have more than one candidate for secretary nominated from the floor, we did put in secretary candidates A and B. Since we've already selected our secretary, just disregard that and vote the other two. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, when you come up, just press the square by the candidate of your choice, and then the green vote button at the bottom when you're done. That'll get you in and out.
We're closing down the polls and we should have our results shortly.
Hit a few things before so that you guys can just peel right out here after he announces the winners. There are several elections coming up. And I want you all to be aware of them because these are elections that are going to affect the policies that are put in place for our education on the state level and on the local level. So school board elections, we have District 2, District 4, District 5, and District 8 all have seats up. So District 2, the incumbent Jenna Brandon is going to be going against Edward Arnold. District 4, our incumbent Anna Shepard is going to be against Pam Swooner, I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name. District 5, the chair of our board, Cheryl Mays, is running against
District 6?
District 5, I think it is, unless I wrote it down wrong. I might have wrote it down wrong. Is it District 6? I got it out of the newspaper. Thais Hunter, I'm not sure say her first name. District 8 are actually two of our Metro parents. Becky Sharp is our Hillsborough, Becky, you hear stuff? Becky Sharp is our Hillsborough cluster leader, and Mary Pierce, Julia Green? And then, more importantly, we've got state races coming up, and we've got a Gower parent. We've got some Gower parents here, but we've got a Gower parent who's currently a representative for Bellevue, District 50, Bill Mitchell. He is running again to maintain his seat. And we have Chris Maw is running for District 56. Wait for him, Chris. Chris Maw is running against Speaker of House Beth Harwell. So here's what I'll say about all of this. Advocacy on the parent level is incredibly important. The other day I was calling up on the Hill to several representatives about a bill that I was in opposition to. And generally you get an assistant that answers the phone when you call. And this assistant said to me, you know what? We never hear from parents. It is so refreshing to hear from a parent because most people are not paying attention, and even those that do, they never call. And we don't really know what their opinions are. And that struck me, and I thought, oh, yeah, you need to know what our opinions are, because what you're deciding up there is affecting us directly every day in my kids' class. So please, if you do nothing else, get to know the candidates in your district, get to know the candidates in the state races, because it's important. Who's up there is making critical decisions that affect our children directly. And then one other thing about this budget meeting that Dr. Redridge was talking about, Wednesday, April 16th, 11 a.m. in the mayor's office. We need parent support to go in there and encourage the mayor to fund our budget, because if he doesn't fund our budget, then we're going to have to make cuts, and we don't want to have to do that. So we want to have the resources that we need to adequately support our students and our teachers in our schools. So please show your support, come to those meetings if you can, and if you can't come, call in or email in or whatever you can do, write a letter, whatever it is, just show your support so that they know that we're behind them. And then the final budget is in the chambers, council chambers, June 4th at 4:15. So I encourage you to get involved. It'll make the difference. Thanks.
I have the results of the PAC race, and it was a tightly contested race. I have Eric Delanier with 25 votes, and Shelley Baldwin with 23. And that's the only race.
So we're closely approaching 7 o'clock. Erica, congratulations. Look forward to working with you. Shelley Baldwin, congratulations on being a great chair this past year. Really appreciate the work you've done. Thank you for the turnout. We've had difficulties in the past in getting a good turnout. We appreciate your turnout tonight. And we'll close now. Are there questions or comments? Yes, Chris.
Several times you said we're striving to be #1 in the nation. I mean, do you have a sort of a sense of what number we actually are and who might be ahead of us?
No, I don't. I don't know what number we are. I know that we're a member of the Council of Great City Schools, which is the 100 largest school systems in the country. And I think we compared very favorably with a number of those in different regards, and not so much so in other regards. We're a diverse, large school system with all the challenges of an urban school system, many challenges across the country. I think in many respects we are at the top of the list. For example, our high school reform initiative, Academies of Nashville, is, as President Obama said when he came here, only school district he visited after, as a follow-up to the State of the Union. that our high schools are the model for reform in the country. And I think in many other respects, we are leading the country in our technology plan, in our planning to implement Common Core, which some of you might support, which some of you might not. I think we're 2 years ahead of the rest of the state. And we know that urban systems across the country are looking at the approach that we're taking, so I feel very good about that. It is a process. We're not nearly where we want to be, but I do think we're making great progress, and one of the things I think we need to do is to build the parent voice in our district. I think that's extremely important, and my commercial for Parent Advisory Council is this. We have 150 or so, depending on how you count schools, about 150 schools in the district, and they're not alike. They don't look alike. They exist in different communities. Many have different challenges. What we need to do as this group is to look for the common voice. We have more in common than we have differences. Whether we're a high school or a middle school or an elementary school, a charter school, another public school, public education in this county needs to develop a common voice. And when we develop that voice and when we're heard, then we will get the support and the resources that we need from the community. And I think that's extremely important. That's the challenge that I will issue Erica, and that I will issue to the Parent Advisory Council. Let's continue to develop that common voice. Thank you very much for being here tonight.